did his best. So I'm not sure how good the audio is going to be considering I don't have a mic attached, and there's a lot of background noise, believe it or not, and I'm wearing a mask. So right now I'm using my phone's voice memo. After a 7th-month stay in Manila, I finally returned to Japan, and now I'm headed back to Beppu, where I live. I was really impressed with not only the Covid-19 safety procedures of Japan and Fukuoka City Airport, which I expected, but I was definitely impressed with the way NAIA in Manila handled it and the service of Philippine Airlines, at least once the plane was taken off. I think the flight stewards and stewardesses just did a fantastic job of dealing with everything. I mean, they're dressed basically for surgery, so I was very impressed. So upon arriving in Fukuoka Airport, it was really cool the way they had 6 passengers at a time disembark, and they called out our names. I was lucky to be one of the first 6 to disembark, and then I went ahead to the testing facility. Now, they were rather strict about taking videos or pictures throughout this process, so unfortunately I can't show you a visual, but they basically had a booth for 6 people, and it was cordoned off properly, and they just gave us a vial with instructions to spit into a funnel, a tiny funnel, until the vial was filled up to 1/6, and then we were instructed to throw away the funnel. Thank God for that. Like, I would have been worried if they're like, no, please return to us so we can reuse it. So after I spat into a tiny tube for 5 minutes straight, I then had to be interviewed by an airport official. This interview is important. It's primarily focused on what you're going to do after you get out of the airport. I was honestly expecting that this interview would mostly be about like, oh, what were you doing in the Philippines, and is it possible that you could have gotten corona? But it was basically, all of the questions were literally just, so why are you coming back? Are you going to stay? How are you going to get there? So in my case, my roommate picked me up, and I mentioned that, and he asked details about my roommate. Now, that can seem a bit invasive or intrusive, but I think that's really helpful, because it also helps, like, if it turns out that I infect my roommate, he's gonna know how to find my roommate. This part of how contact tracing works. So it was really fine for me, and I gave him my roommate's details. I gave him the name of my university. I pretty much gave him everything he asked for, so it went well. Now, here's something I will mention. If you don't know Japanese, even a little bit, this will take maybe twice or thrice the amount of time that it should. In my case, I know maybe 3 words of Japanese, so that's why it took me maybe 5 minutes to get through that part. But for other people who didn't know a single word, I noticed that they took way longer than I did. This is just something to keep in mind. For one, I would recommend knowing or learning the word for self-quarantine in Japanese. The commonly used word that I think a lot of people know is kakurisuru. So since I knew that word, I was able to understand most of what he was saying, because all of it was just like, where are you gonna isolate? Where are you gonna do this? A lot of it was also just emphasizing to me how serious isolation is, and emphasizing to me, hey, you definitely need to stay there for 2 weeks, all right? Don't go to anybody for 2 weeks, okay? And then they even gave me a form to show or put on my door so that people will be aware that I am isolating and, you know, corona and all of that stuff. Now, after this interview, it gets really tedious and boring, because you just have to wait. Now, I love the way they made us wait. What they did was, again, I wasn't allowed to take out a camera or even to use my phone and take a video of this, but they basically have sections cordoned off, and they give you a chip. So in my case, I was number 3, so I had the 3rd row all to myself, and they literally blocked off all the other chairs except for mine. And I thought that was a really great way to avoid any possibility of people being like, oh no, we can just sit anywhere, you know? That even people who came together had to be separated. It's that extra level of precaution that makes a real difference when it comes to matters like this. Because at the end of the day, no one really knows everything about coronavirus, so if just separating people by a row of seats is gonna do something, let's do it, you know. Now I had to wait for the test results, and I timed it. In all, it took me 2 hours and 45 minutes before I got my results. Maybe it might be faster in some cases, but at least in my experience it took that amount of time. Was I happy that it took that long? No, I wasn't, but I understood, like, it's a coronavirus test. What can I do? At least I didn't have to wait an entire day, right? It's just one of those minor inconveniences, and let's face it, who isn't accustomed to waiting unnecessarily long at the airport? Except in this case, it's actually necessary, so I'll deal with it. I apologize if your ears are bleeding, but I guess you could say you might be helplessly hoping for some reprieve. I'll understand if you click the dislike button after that joke. Anyway, everything was going fine until... We're stranded here because somebody forgot to get gas. So this is the best welcome home thing that I've received. But now, I'm gonna eat some carbonara. In the process of picking me up, buying pizza and groceries, and entering an overpriced highway, my friends forgot to get gas. Now, I don't blame them, but it is their fault. Sorry guys. We spent a bit of time messing around with our cameras and even planned a short film centered around a mugging. Okay, all right. I'm gonna leave here on a close-up, okay, and then we just shoot from... I'll do a POV. Yeah, you shoot from different angles. Okay. Dude, classic neg that shit and you don't have to color grade. Huh? Just classic neg. Yeah, fine. But we weren't completely relaxed. I had to make a call. Hey, guess who's back in Japan? Yeah, I know, right? We should definitely meet up soon. How does right now sound? No, I'm not kidding. One small catch though. I'm in Yufuin. I'm just gonna say I'm driving to Yufuin was in the back. Oh shit, thanks. Yeah, was in the back. Mr. Lifesaver. What the fuck are you guys doing without, like... We're stupid, like, you have no idea. So I called up Shiva, one of my good friends, and for some reason, he actually agreed to drive more than 40 kilometers in the dead of night to bring us gasoline. All in all, it was an interesting experience, and I got home safe and sound after a long journey. If you're interested in learning more about Japan's COVID-19 procedure and my own personal safety precautions, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And I know that it's not easy.